morning. So I just want to say congratulations on having a decluttering group. Your children love you, okay? Because that is the worst thing we all have to face at some point. My portion of the presentation is going to cover some of the options of the things that you can do with the stuff that you have that you no longer want. And one of the items that I'll cover is an auction, but it's more of an overview, and I know that Doug will be doing his presentation in more detail. But as Carolyn said, I apologize, I do have a medical issue this morning that I need to leave and go to, so if you do in fact have any questions for me, please feel free to let me know ask anything during the presentation. And my number is on the sheets that were handed out, so feel free to call afterwards with any questions as well. All right, so certainly in terms of selling your things, because we do apply a triage method, we try to sell whatever we can first, we donate second, and we dispose of as a last resort. And there are a number of channels certainly that you can use to find new homes for your things if you'd like to sell them. There are on-site sales, that would be moving or estate sales, and I'm not going to really cover garage or yard sales that much. I personally avoid them like the plague because I think they're a ton of work for not a lot of return. And there are auctions. And by and large, most of the folks who are running auctions these days run not only gallery auctions, but they also have an ability to do things online. So that has expanded quite a bit, and it targets a much larger audience. And then there are dealers and wholesalers who will buy direct. There are certainly consignment stores, and then there's eBay and Craigslist. So we'll be covering all of those. In terms of on-site sales, again, we'll talk mostly about estate or moving sales. And those terms mean something to the buyers, even though they might not mean anything to you as a seller. So basically, in a estate sale, people are coming with the assumption that they're going to pay hundreds and thousands for items that are there, that they're in fact going to be a large amount of things to go through. And they are responsible for taking anything that they purchase off the premise. That carting away is their responsibility. There are people who will help you with that. And people who offer their professional services normally charge 30% commission for an on-site sale. And that will cover the advertising, the sales help, the setup. And when you look at the timing of that, one of the things to keep in mind is that if you are going to offer an estate or moving sale, basically you need to allow yourself a number of weeks back from the closing date of your home. And so if in fact you're going to live in your home, you have to sort of sit there and weigh the comparison of, can I afford to really let my bedroom set go out the door if I still need to stay here for another week or two? And the extra time you need to allot there is to make sure that you have time to deal with stuff that did not sell, because there will always be some things left over. Okay? In terms of the audience, again, you have to have a mindset that it's okay that you're going to have hundreds of strangers coming through your home. And as folks who run estate sales, we've got a lot of help there. We lock off things and we make sure that anything that's of value is well taken care of. But anything that goes out the door is likely not able to be gotten back. So if there is a need to segregate some things, you need to be able to do that. And more importantly, there are some folks who just frankly don't like the idea of people coming into their home. And so it's a consideration. Okay? Any questions about estate or moving sales? Okay. Auctions. Basically, the auctioneers run fairly simple and steady types of programs, but I would advise you to go ahead and read all of the fine print in the auction contract that you're signing, because there are some subtle differences. So normally they will take a sliding scale fee depending on how much the item sells for. So for instance, things under $25 or $50, they may take 50% of, whereas things over $500, they may only take 20 or 30% of. And then even higher prices might be less. Some have negotiable commissions, some do not. And the commission does cover certain things. In some cases, it covers a pickup so that the items are gotten from your home and taken away at the auctioneer's expense and stored. In some cases, they do charge a fee, a 1% fee sometimes, for keeping an item on site if it's not going to be listed in an auction for more than, say, 3 months. In terms of the timing, It can vary anywhere from, 8 to 12 weeks, which would be probably on the lower end, all the way up to 6 months to a year. If something that you have is a somewhat, say, esoteric item that they're going to want to put into a special sale or a special auction that's coming up in the future. So it would be best for you to understand exactly when the auctioneer is planning to list your item. And they do charge a buyer's fee, which is over and above what the list price is that the person pays for the item. And what you should receive when your items are consigned is a list of all of the items in the lots that they're going to be put into. So for instance, they may come and you may give them 200 books, let's say, and they may decide that when they want to auction them, they're going to break them into 10 lots of 20 books each, or some combination thereof. So that's a decision best left up to the auctioneer. They're in the best position to understand how it will sell and how it will sell for the most amount of money. And since they take a percent, they certainly want to get the most amount of money both for them and for you. So you should get that listing with an estimate. It's usually a range, a dollar range, of how much they think that the item will bring in the auction. If you've chosen to put a reserve on the item, and that basically is a minimum, so you're basically telling the auctioneer, if you cannot get this much for it, I don't want to sell it. And the one caveat that I tell folks is to make sure if you're going to do that, that you have a plan B, and it's not just an emotional thing saying, I paid $2,000 for that, I couldn't possibly let it go for less than $500. If you're not taking it with you and you don't have anybody who wants it, then unfortunately you need to let it go for whatever it's going to go for. And with an auction, you're basically, there is a bit of a risk in terms of having an audience out there. Is it the exact right person who's going to want your thing? Are they going to pay the exact top dollar? You never know going in. But again, with good auctioneers who have great reputations and who run regular sales and regular auctions, usually what they've got is a pretty steady following, so you can feel pretty comfortable. But doing the reserve is really the only way you can control absolutely the price. In some cases, the auctioneer will charge you a 10% fee or whatever for having put something into the auction to cover all of their work in listing it, taking the picture, storing it, cleaning it, doing whatever they had to make it presentable if it doesn't meet the reserve. Okay, so again, it's just something to keep in mind and talk to the auctioneer about. In terms of the payments, when everything has cleared through the auction and the people have come and picked up the items and paid for them, what you should receive in the mail is, again, a printout that looks very much like the first one you got, except with the actual prices that were paid, and then what your payment is with a check from the business. Okay? Any questions about auctions? Okay.
Does the auctioneer send some kind of notification to the IRS when you do this, or not?
Not that I know of, no.
Not unless it's 6 figures or above, and hopefully it is. But in most cases, no. If it's more modest in payment, there's no form that's typically sent out. It's your responsibility to make sure that it's noted within your tax filing situation. Certainly, unless you're an investor, you basically bought things or you had things from family, maybe there's a cost basis prior to from a previous family member that received it as an estate proceedings, and then you can use that as the basis for value and what it's sold for subsequently. So.
Can you please repeat the question?
Yes, I'm sorry. So basically the question was, does the IRS send a slip, or does the auctioneer send an IRS type of slip, either to the IRS or to you? I do also know when we run estate and moving sales that there is no tax or anything on that. I mean, you've got your personal property, you've already paid the tax on it, and all you're doing is selling it, and it's considered a private sale. So, I know that there's no taxes paid on that. Yes.